Hello, everyone. It is Wednesday, the 30th of August, 2023, and I am coming at you live from just outside of Ottawa, Ontario. Before I get into cycloids and sine waves and all of that stuff and golden triangles, more information on sacred numbers and their connection to the to our bodies and the universe, I wanted to just talk about current events. There's stuff that I still can't talk about, even though I share proof and scientific medical and government data coming out from so many different countries. I'm on Discord, so I highly recommend people take a look at that as well. And if this is only streamed on YouTube for now, this is going to be another video I'm going to have to stream on Rumble later. But anyway, I digress. So I want to just get into the like current events, just some stuff that I've shared, but I just want to talk about um, just things that are more important. Let's see here. I'll talk about the wildfires because they're impacting people that I know personally. I have family that are in the Kelowna area, that are in the BC area, and I have actually family all over the place. So, but a lot in that area where it's legit, like aunts and uncles and family members, biological father, but first cousins. You know what I mean? Like actual like close family members. I hope they're doing okay. I've said this before, and I've shared links and stories on social media and proof. But there are a lot of experts and firefighters and people that have worked in and around fires their entire lives that are questioning these back burns and these controlled burns that keep on happening. And it's a more of a recent event, and why they're people are doing this when there are high winds and the wind directions and stuff like that are going towards major cities and stuff like that. And for me, it's like why again is this happening in areas that are the best prime locations for real estate within Canada, right? And then you had Maui as well with the dews or the direct energy weapons that were used there. I don't care what anyone says, that's what were used. And yeah, and it's unfortunate that there were like I'm even told too that like escape routes or alert routes, whatever you want to call it, that they've been that they're being blocked, not blocked, but they're being like cordoned and controlled and stuff like that. So again, like um it's making me feel or leading me to believe that if people needed to like evacuate like last minute or whatever, like I wouldn't wait until last minute, because look what happened in Maui, like I'm saying in Lahaina, when people went to French Street because like that was the emergency evac route. They were getting turned away, like allegedly from local officials and stuff like that in the areas, and they were saying just doing my job. That's not doing your job. Like that's not doing your job. Like if you're like I've been like again 15 years. I was an infantry officer and at the highest levels, whatever you want to call it, even forces, and I've been incorporated. Athena Incorporated for over 5 years. Actually, no, wrong. Close to 5 years. Like it'll be 5 years on the 3rd of September. And where was it going with this stuff? I don't even know. Wildfires. Um, yeah, so we just got to question a lot of this stuff and then look at our emergency plans in place and know that in Canada we're a lot more censored than many other places. And so you're not going to get the news alerts and stuff like that. So a lot of people are not getting their information, up to date information from, unfortunately, the people that they are hired to get their information from. Oh yeah, that's where I was going from with this stuff. Like even during my service, like I did not obey unlawful orders, right? Like that was my job as an officer, was to be that mediate, like that mediating official, whatever you want to call it, that protected my subordinates. You know what I mean? Which are people that are worthy, souls that are equal, to, like, we're all equal in the eyes of God. And I can go on tangents about religion too, and how like they're all representing an allegory of uh of sun worship, unfortunately. And it's not to take it away from this multidimensional flat earth plane, but it's just to give more perspective on like the astronomy, the astrology and stuff like that, that is even taught in the Bible. And I shared that yesterday in yesterday's video on gematria, like the Bible searches. You can look for yourself. There's 9 different sections within the Bible, King James version, and other versions that mention astrology and it's in a good light, right? These are people that they sought counsel from to predict, like again, like the full moon. Like today is, for example, is full moon in Pisces, and yeah, so people that were able to predict these by being familiar with the um, the ecliptical path of the sun, like the sinusoidal wave or what do you want to call it, the cycloid that I'm going to talk about, and and that. But anyway, wildfires, like I would question like all of these burns and stuff like that, and take a look at windmill mills and their locations. I did talk about this in a video like maybe a couple weeks ago, but there's still that March for Freedom that's happening on the 20th of September in Canada. And it's 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It is 9 p.m. in the Yukon, and because they're 3 hours behind. And anyway, so just check your local area. So for Ottawa time, it'll be it's at 12 p.m. It's a March for Freedom, essentially, um, to speak out on a lot of the pseudoscience, I guess, and wokeism that's being taught in not just our education systems for our children, but like even for people that are experts or professionals, they're getting taught pseudoscience. And for me, for example, I'm still on hold on my fourth year cognitive science degree for my other degree, for another degree at Carleton University, and it's on hold because like I'm giving proof to professors and to heads of departments about like debunking like the curvature, for example, and like corpuscular rays and Coriolis effect, and like talking about the Allen radiation belt, and showing my work, and citing references and stuff like that, and then showing like that even like NASA, like top secret government like declassified documents show that this is a flat stationary plane, the dome above, and that I even give representations and examples from like different Bibles and with multiple different verses and passages that also teach that, right? So if you are a religious person, regardless of your religion, you if you actually read your Bible, you would be a like a flat stationary plane of inertia person, but knowing that this is also like a simulation that's being projected via toroidal fields and hyperboloids. And it's so again, like it's electricity, dielectricity, and magnetism. So there's not anything to do with gravity. Like it's and so this is like a ridiculous concept. And then again being projected on a flat plane of inertia, right? So you have the toroidal fields and hyperboloids. Actually, that Ken Wheeler can talk about. I should have put this up. Let me see here. Give a good one. It still gets censored, so like let's see. Maybe I'll put this one on. Okay. Bear with me. I just had to choose a video before I go back to stream and present. I highly recommend taking a look at Theoria Apophasis, known as Ken Wheeler. He has multiple different books out.
Okay, just remade this supercell unit. Sorry about that. Ironically, since it's so sensitive, I'm actually going to have to use a really weak magnet to demonstrate this. A very weak magnet. You can actually
How cool is this? Like all like the Fibonacci stuff sequencing in here, like golden angles, golden ratios, all that stuff. And then even in the center here, you'll notice that it's like a black hole. And then if you look closely in some of these like these feral cells that he uses, sorry, like I'm so distracted by geese outside of my house. There's like a white light, very interesting stuff. Then again, I also think that this is being represented as what we're calling God. And anyway,
see one quote unquote pole of the magnet. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to rotate and tilt. I'll hold it in one spot, even though it's a weak magnet. Rotate and tilt the
if you can see the
supercell
donuts thing,
and
like
keeping
sort of
the
that's
magnet in place. Here
hyperboloid.
you can see the toroidal or donut-shaped formation of the constructive and destructive interference. Is actually what you're actually seeing is no different than the results of the so-called dual slit experiment. Here's a fact that nobody seems to be able to get through their heads unless they actually think about it deeply and they need to move this magnet around, is that light does not move at all. It is a field perturbation, and there's no such thing as a wave-particle duality. A wave is not a thing, rather what a thing does. You'll actually notice, and I want to save this for the explanation. I'm going to show you, and you've never seen this in a video before. This one's really sensitive. It's a new formulation. Here, let me actually show you here. I'm able to point it out. You'll actually see bright little spots at the intersection points, like little stars or little gems on a necklace. Let me move this around. You see, I've already got a burn mark here, and this is a really weak magnet, a really weak one. And I'm still able to get the effect. Let me actually do some focusing here. Focusing, you see these little bright spots right over here, like diamonds on a necklace. I'll actually explain that later. But what you're seeing is constructive and destructive interference from the reciprocating precessional hyperboloid. Well, the reason I say reciprocating, and of course, most people, of course, know the definition of reciprocating, and you look it up if you don't know, kind of like pistons reciprocate in an engine, is that we actually have something called Lamour frequency or geomagnetic precession. We actually have expanding, contracting loops that define magnetism. Magnetism, of course, is centrifugal, it is divergent, it is denotatively and connotatively force and motion.
Yeah.
As you were taught in school, accurate.
So essentially, like, if anything, like this flat plane of inertia is like counter space, if that makes any sense.
At least one of the few things that you're
The
accurately
absence
taught
of space.
is that
Anyway,
atoms are 99.9999999% empty space. There's nothing there. There's little tiny billiard balls at the very center, and there's nothing between in picometers, nothing in between the periphery or the valence shells of the atom. And that's absolutely not true. The air inside the balloon, to use a perfect analogy when we talk about air, as far as the volume of an atom, or the volume of the entire universe, is solely due to magnetism. We actually have, this is the conjugate reality of the universe. It's irreducible in our galaxy, every galaxy, the entire universe, both seen and unseen. We have force and motion, inertia, and acceleration. Everything's capacitance, resistance, permeability, and permittivity, magnetic permeability, and dielectric permittivity. Can you actually see as I rotate around? I would actually get near instantaneous burn if I were to use a halfway decent non-weak magnet. The only reason I'm rotating around like this is so you can actually see. What we actually have here is true holography, even though the layer, see, even though this magnet is really, really weak, I've already got burn marks on it. The only reason, um, actually, I think about so many things at once. I actually lost my train of thought there. The only reason we actually see the light, everywhere you see light, by the way, is the constructive magnetic force divergence lines. And everywhere we see the absence of light, of course, is the dielectric. Yeah, getting back to the conjugate now, back on track again. Getting back to the conjugate nature of the universe, what we have is magnetism is the dielectric field and the expression. If we want to use a perfect analogy, we could actually say the expression of water under pressure. In this case, of course, the perfect analogy would be heat. The expression of water under pressure, i.e., heat, which is a type of pressure, but not really, is steam. So we have this ignorant conception of water is one thing and steam is another. Of course, steam, of course, is water. Magnetism is the dielectric field, except in expression of that loss of inertia, which actually follows a rate discovered by the ancient Pythagoreans. And it's my discovery from Plato's Republic 509d to 511. Here it is, 1 over 5 to the power of negative 3. Well, you think that's a number, which is 4.23606, or phi cubed, but it's not. Anytime you actually make a subdivision like that, we're actually talking about an expression. So, well, this is division, 1 over 5 to the power of negative 3. Well, that's a number. It's 4 phi cubed, or 4.23606. Well, this is also an expression. We're actually talking about the combination of physics and metaphysics, of course, which are not two different things. It's ignorantly to think of physics and metaphysics as two different things, as it is to ignorantly think the head side of a coin is different from the tail side of a coin. Well, sure they are. No, they're both the silver of the coin. They're both one and the same thing. But I wanted to use this really weak magnet using a new formulation. This is not mouse milk, and it is a type of ferrofluid. But you actually see those little diamond beads, if you will. If I can actually zoom in a little bit more here.
he's got so many good videos. Let's see here. Let's see a popular one. He's got so many good ones. Oh, this is one I. This one.
Of a voltage.
This
We
one.
think of this as an indivisible line that actually has no extension. We're talking about unmanifest inertia, or what quantum mechanics and general relativity and their insanity have called dark matter or quantum fluid, which is just nothing other than a euphemism for what Tesla, Heaviside, Steinmetz, Faraday, and all the greats of electrical theory that gave us 100% of our current electrical grid and system. Einstein gave us nothing of that. Nothing. Okay, he invented nothing, he discovered nothing, and his quote-unquote theory of relativity is mostly stolen from Henri Poincaré. Excuse me, my French is not so great. Henri Poincaré. I'm sure I'm still pronouncing that wrong. Anyway, as far as field theory, we only have two field modalities, and we have one field. There is only one field. Now, we think in terms of electrostatics, like dielectricity. We think in terms of magnetic field, electrical, and then we think of gravitational field. But ultimately, I hope to make this really fast and simple for you to understand it, that there's only one field, and there's the loss of that field as expressed by magnetism, i.e. the loss of inertia, because there's only two principles that rule the entire universe: force and motion, and inertia and acceleration. Well, how do you tie all four of them together rationally? Now, actually, let me show you this. Now, as you've seen underneath the ferrocell, a magnet, doesn't matter what shape it is, looks exactly like this. It looks like a torus. It looks like a well, of course, most people can't visualize that. I can. A reciprocating processional hyperboloid, which sounds complicated, but is divinely simplex. Now, you see the spirograph-like hypertrochoidal pattern. If we're able to get it underneath the camera better, I'll show it to you in a slightly uncompressed fashion. There you go. You actually see a torus, a toroid, a spirograph, a hypertrochoid. That's the expression of the loss of inertia. Now, as Faraday called magnetism, he called it the dielectric field. But what does that mean specifically? It means that the necessitated loss of inertia, i.e. the ether, must be expressed as the creation of space, and of course the posterior attribute of the creation of space is a measure of movements of magnitude, which we call time, but of course time does not exist. Time is a human contrivance. Here we have dielectricity with absolutely no manifestation, is a linear propagation. Now, we think of a single point, i.e. the ether, as being unmanifest. A longitudinal propagation, such as found in electromagnetism, i.e. radio or regular light, obviously has a longitudinal phi times psi equals q, Planck, and electrification. Electricity, by definition, denotatively, is a combination of two things, dielectricity and magnetism. So by losing its dielectric component, the electricity manifests itself in the electromagnet, for example, as a huge, enormous, very powerful high Gauss magnetic field. Now, where does gravity come into play? Well, we think gravity is something different. Now, we know in galactic jets, we see enormous amounts of shooting matter shooting out billions of light years at either end of galactic jets. Now, the necessary loss of inertia, which manifests itself as longitudinal dielectricity, is an equation. It's 1 over phi to the power of -3, which some people would think would be a number, but it's actually an expression. And that expression, if we were to think of this as a 0 point, which is invisible rather than seeing the circle, that equation necessitates the expression, which we know that the attributional nature of the ether expresses itself as longitudinal dielectricity by that equation that I described.
Okay, I don't want to bore you guys. Ken Wheeler, take a look at him. I highly recommend. I'm just going to stop. Okay, so it's stop sharing, and then I'm just going to share some more information just regarding psych. Actually, no, before I, no, I will do that. I'm not going all over the place. Let's see here. So this is just, it's called Unit Circles, Origin of the Sine Wave by Cash Murthy.
Let's talk about unit circles. It's a circle whose radius is 1 unit in length. The unit can be any measure, 1 centimeter, a meter, a kilometer even. It doesn't matter, as long as it's 1 unit in length. All of the measurements are done relative to this unit. Let's put the circle in the center of a coordinate system. A coordinate system, in this case.
See, this may look familiar to people. This is the geocentric model of the cosmos or universe, whatever you want to call this, being projected on a flat plane of inertia. So this circle here, like I believe that there's like depending on where you're looking from, like north, south, east, west, or north, south, east, west, and then you have like with cardinal points and fixed points, and then with like the degrees of a circle, there's 360, and then I show that like a circle how the constellations, with the zodiac, how the sun moves through the constellations, like within this flat Earth plane that's possibly a circle. And again, like that does not mean globe, ladies and gentlemen. It you can have like a sphere, like a cylinder, or you can have there's so many different bases that you can have, even half a globe. Like if you look at it, like with a different like depending on the distance, you can see like it would look like a like a circle, and so people are mistaking that for a globe and thinking that just because they see a circle, like that somehow makes it a globe. And I've showed shapes as well, where I just pointed out that depending on the angle at which you look at these objects, you can actually, it would appear to be like a globe, but it's not. And anyway, I can get into this too with like the representation of the seven. So you've got the 0 degrees here, and then the 180 here, and then it goes down like 30, 60, 90, and then 180. And then the same thing on this side as well, where it's like 30, 60, 90, and then down back to 180. So then 0 degrees and then 180 degrees, they're individual. So they're on their own individual path, whatever you want to call it, path. And then you've got 5 pairs of like the other degrees, right? So like 5 and then 1 plus 1 is equal to 7. So that's just another like example of like God's most preferred number being 7. And then there's just so many different stories about like Jesus meeting like the 7 sisters, and then like there's so many different like 7 colors of the rainbow, like the 7 chakras, like the 7 days of the week, the 7 original planets. I can go on again, but like even within the swastika or the Nazi sign or the Big Dipper shape, like there's like the 7, and it changes its path like depending on the winters or spring solstices or the spring or autumn equinoxes. But anyway,
Case is a two-dimensional representation of the number line, where it's made up of the x-axis and the y-axis, and each point on this 2D plane is represented by a Cartesian coordinate of x and y. Let's do something strange now. Let's drop a perpendicular from any point on the circle to the x-axis, and let's draw a radius to this point. We just inscribed a right-angled triangle with an angle theta inside a circle.
sorry for my terrible. I want to see if you can see this, but this is a circle that I'm talking about. It's terribly drawn, but that's what the degrees on it. Okay, back to this.
Why did we do this? For one, we simplified the triangle, since the hypotenuse of the triangle is the radius of the circle. Move the point anywhere on the circle, and you'll end up with a right-angled triangle with its hypotenuse as 1. Looking back at the trigonometric functions, a sine function is defined as the opposite side over the hypotenuse. Conveniently, we've eliminated the need to measure the hypotenuse, and the sine function is just the y-coordinate of where the radius meets the circle. Similarly, the cosine of the angle theta is the adjacent side over the hypotenuse, or more simply, the reflection of the x-coordinate where the radius meets the circle. The implication of this is quite profound. Take any point on the circle. The cosine and the sine functions for the value of theta is just a measure of the x and y coordinates of that point. This will be our standard way of measuring trigonometric functions from here forward. But let's go back to the classical view of right triangles on their own one last time before we abandon them. We're here because I want to point out a glaring limitation of this.
Okay, that's boring. I should have looked at that one a little bit more in depth before going into it. I'll give you a better one than that. So I'll stop the screen, and then I will show you something else. Did that work? No. Okay, what is the golden triangle? Okay, so the golden ratio is just giving you like the equations of it. It's very complicated, but broken down. 5 is equal to 5, the square root of 2 plus 1 is equal to 1.618, blah, blah, blah. Now let's understand the concept of the golden triangle. It's my isosceles triangle, which the ratio of A and B from the figure above. In other words, the ratio of the hypotenuse and base is equal to the golden ratio, A over B, pi. So I'm more interested in like the numbers and degrees and stuff like that. So the properties of the golden ratio, it's broken down, but you'll see the 72. There's a lot of different religions that use 72 in their like that's derived from their occult books and texts and or like religious books as well. And this is why I think that the number is being used is because it's part of like these like this the golden ratio, which is the keys of this cosmos, how this flat Earth plane of inertia is being like simulated. And then even with like the Great Bang and stuff like that, I think that like if anything, like just like when you start like a video game, like you press the power button, like and then like there's a spark, like this could possibly be what they mean by that as well. And anyway, I'm just going on all these tangents, but so if you bisect one of the 72-degree angles, you'll get like different you get anyway, just go through here, you got 180, A equals 108. I would highly recommend taking a look at that. I'm going to go into my show you what a cycloid is. Okay. Did that not go through? There we go. Sorry about that. Okay, did it go through? There we go. This is a Wikipedia reference, so my apologies for that. So in geometry, a cycloid is the curve traced by a point on a circle as it rolls along a straight line without slipping. A cycloid is a specific form of a trochoid, a roulette curve formed by a circle rolling along a line. Circle rolling along a line is a curve traced by a point fixed to the circle as it rolls through a straight line. The point is on the circle. The trochoid is called common. The point is inside the circle. The trochoid is curtate. Anyway, so here's just like a great representation of like the cycloid, and you can go through this as well. And then let's see what else here. Let's see what I can get from Discord. My Discord, stuff that I share. Oh yeah, even with the 108 that you saw in the like on that triangle, you can take a look at like the number 108. That's not something that I've talked about a lot about. But I can show you just like the like what I look at, just like one example of. Did it not go through? Why does it keep doing that? Oh, there we go. Okay. Try this again, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry for that. So this is the number of the man. This is from Riding the Beast. Again, this is just one example of like many where you can get like where you can decipher numbers. According to the Rosicrucians, it symbolizes the summit that a man can reach on the path during his incarnation, and is then the number of achievement. Universal number as a product of 9 numbers of completion and 12 cosmic number. Blancard points out that the soul's day, November 2nd, to Christmas Day, to Christmas, December 25th, there are 54 days and 54 nights. That is to say 54 positive units and 54 negative units is equal to 108. In this sense, 108 would symbolize the progress of darkness to the light. The epistle of St. James, whose central message is that there is no authentic faith without charitable works, contains on the whole 108 verses. There's so many like different ones as well. During his passion, our Lord received a total of 6,666 blows to his body, including 108 to his stomach. The 108 years of cycles of the Rosicrucian Brotherhood. Maybe look at some more stuff. Okay, I'm just looking here to see like what I can show you that's interesting for the golden. I just had like an interesting one, and I don't know where it went. That's the frustrating thing. Where did it go? No, is this it? This might be it. Yes, I'm talking to myself. It's raining really badly here. It was clear for a little bit. I took a look at the moon like earlier on, early morning, and because it sets before we get up now, I'm just going to close a few things. Let's see if I can present a PDF to you, ladies and gentlemen. Pythagoras, Plato, and the Golden Ratio by Ken Wheeler. This is just to give you, and yes, those are the videos I was talking that I was just sharing with you, and I highly recommend getting his book. This is a PDF version, but like I also have a couple of his books. He is a genius. I just wanted to show you like more pictures than anything because there's just a Plato's cave, like I've talked about that before, where that's an allegory, and there's so many different cave, like the cave of Brahma and so many other ones, like even with Adam and Eve in the cave. These are all like allegories to access the higher levels of consciousness. And I'm showing this because the golden triangle is also connected to hexagons and like the Star of David and other things that I want to show you that to see if he actually shows this. Yeah, there we go. So like when the triangles are up, you know what I mean? That's not devil horns or anything like that. Like as people believe. Yeah. And this star is represented in so many different locations around the world. So yeah, I highly recommend getting this as well. This is a good read. Okay, before I forget, I wanted to talk about, oh my goodness. Oh, you can barely see me. I have to get so close now, or maybe if I'm further away. Like, yeah, okay, so global affair. No, actually, I'll share the freaking screen with you too, because this is embarrassing. For some reason, I'm not able to. Like, there's only certain browsers that I can actually show you things, and so I have to actually copy and paste. But anyway, not a big deal. Okay, so Global Affairs Canada issues LGBTQ plus travel advisory for the US. Like this is just to me, in my humble opinion, ridiculous. It's updated in international travel advisories to warn members of the LGBTQ plus community that they may face discrimination if they travel to some places in the United States. The U.S. Department of Homeland Security also warned in May that threats of violence against the LGBTQ plus community were becoming more frequent and intense. It's just going on, but like this is narrative that they're trying to push. Is I'm just going to stop the screen. Is to push like this right wing. They're still pushing this right wing extremist like agenda. Why? It's because we have people that are socialists and or liberals or like Democrats. They're on the left hand side of like the political science graph. You know, the X Y axis is where you have the left and right you have extreme communism on one end and extreme dictatorship, or what do you want to call it, like on the right hand side, but like and then you have authoritarian at the far top, and anarchy far below. And authoritarian is when you have like the government has complete control and power and rulership over the people, and anarchy is where again it's by the people. There's just total chaos and anarchy, and there's no systems of governance in place, which is why I'm all about being sort of in the middle. Like I'd argue I'm more libertarian than anything, just based on what's being shown uh is the platform for libertarians. And I have voted for 3 different parties in my life. And so if anyone wants to like push me as being like a right-wing extremist because I work out, or because I didn't support Hillary Clinton because like I know about the backhand illegal criminal stuff that she's done in her past and the people that she's affiliated with and supports and enables. And I can go on a freaking tangent, but so yeah, Global Affairs Canada. When you go to like I am well traveled, even though like since the pandemic, because I refused to get vaccinated just because I wanted to travel. I was booked to go to Australia and Iceland, and I'm still delayed on doing these things now because a lot of like life things came up. But yeah, there's so many different places in the world where people that are homosexual, like, and by the way, in Europe, if you want to go to Ukraine or Russia and stuff like that, like, why are these not travel advisories for the LGBTQ plus communities? And I'm not saying this stuff because like there's any hate. Again, like I have, in my past, like I've had relations with women. You know what I mean? It was and so like there's and like it's been many, like it's been like decades, but and uh and I don't judge it because like I do know people that are homosexual and they're leading great lives, and they're not groomers, and they're not like pushing agendas, and they're not their whole identity isn't based around like their sexual preferences, and it's they're not weird. And so these people, like, I wouldn't recommend going to Ukraine, or like many other like places like in all over the world, like, and where homosexual like practicing homosexuality in a lot of African countries, by the way, take a look at this, where it's actually illegal. And so how dare you put a travel advisory on our allies, like that are, oh my god, that are our neighbors too, our allies, like people that we have worked with, like I've worked with in and around, like in war and beyond. And like it's just ridiculous that it's more of this stuff. And then you have Melanie Joly, who is our like, again, she's like part of like the defense team, like zero experience, and I'm offering myself for these freaking positions as well. And she's also talking about like right wing extremism because people support Trump and or don't like Biden for like a lot of like what's been going on with like the criminal stuff going on with his entire family, including him. And so for people to like believe that this is some kind of like a conspiracy, or like people are mentally unhinged for not wanting these people to be our elected officials, and Justin Trudeau included, then you're out of your mind, right? And so this is what I mean, like people with egos, or like their own agendas, or if they're like a privileged and protected group within Canada or the US, like they feel like they can do or say anything and push agendas, and they're like with like I'm going on all these tangents, but it's very ignorant, and it's not helping anyone, right? And it's making people further feel like there's like it's just further separating, like I guess the elected officials amongst their constituents and or like Canadian members, right? And why, like, this is so annoying. This just doesn't work. I need to get another background, maybe, or maybe it's because of the right. Anyway, so I want to talk about global affairs and how I have worked with Global Affairs Canada, with individuals who, I did have a lot of respect for. I don't work with them currently. I would love to again. I don't know what positions or roles they have anymore, but and it was on like high level training stuff, and so it just more stuff that surprises me with like this, like they don't even want to have like in like a meeting and or engagements with me, because even on LinkedIn I have tagged them and stuff, or I've messaged people, even people I've known personally, and they haven't responded back. And so it's unfortunate. And because I'm sharing stuff about flat simulation Earth, and they're called Global Affairs Canada, and I feel like it's important that they know the friggin' reality of the friggin' world. And so I'm trying to be helpful at risk to myself, knowing that there are people within also that know this and are pushing this agenda, and deviate like people from knowing the reality of the world, which could give us more information and informed consent on like where we go and what we do and who we support and enable all this stuff and where we put our money, right? And who we support and trust and enable and on all this stuff. And now more stuff about like travel advisories, like for the US, like how is this assisting with our partnership with them? And do you really think that this is going to help us on an international scale when we're not invited to like defense um, panels and or like training and like exercises and stuff like that? When again, I'm showing my resume that I have done like multi-level like coordination pieces, battle group level and beyond, like between like international stuff and and I'm not being considered and I'm not taking this as like oh boo-hoo my ego or like no, it's just frustrating because like people that are like wholly unqualified, they're just puppets and I don't know, like they're profiting and getting so much money from us, they're bleeding us dry. And there's people that I know personally that are, including myself, that are profoundly impacted by the ignorance of these people like Justin Trudeau and Chrystia Freeland and stuff like that. And we have people like Dr. Jordan Peterson that's getting his license revoked from the Ottawa, like the Ontario psychology or psychologists panel or committee or whatever you want to call it, because of him publicly demonstrating his opinions, which he's not wrong in. And so so like it's this woke agenda needs to go, ladies and gentlemen. It's causing harm. Like for the audacity to revoke a license of someone as qualified and competent as Dr. Jordan Peterson, and these people on these hearings or these boards, like I would love to know the names and see the profiles of these people, and just see like how many of these people are brainwashed, woke people who don't have our best interest at heart, that they're coming from a place of their own predisposed, reinforced biases of victimhood, just like Kathleen Wynne and Jim Watson and these people that like that again, like they their whole narratives based around their sexual identity, and I posted a story about this because we had an Ontario, finally someone from Ontario, a man, Lecce, I think his name is, but he was talking about like, of course, parents need to have, they need to be like aware of their children if they want to get, like transition and or, anyway. And so I just wanted to put my comment on that. We could go on other things too. Where did it go? Did they actually take my story down? Anyway, that's unfortunate. But my response to this woman was there was a woman that commented on I wish I had this again. Anyway. Did I highlight it? Probably not. Nope. Anyway, I was calling out. Oh, maybe I have a screen grab. Bear with me. Yeah, okay. So in response to this Ontario elected official who was saying that that he supports parents being involved in the decision-making process for children if they're deciding to go down like the trans route, or or puberty blockers, or all these things. And there's a girl, her name was Carrie Blais 65, and she said, "You can take my job, but I will not out a student. I refuse to put my students in possible danger." Like, you know what I mean? They always make this about they're in danger. The kids are in danger. We have to protect them. Bro, we need to protect them from you, okay? Unfortunately, not every LGBTQ plus student has a safe home or loving family. Again, like the shame here. I will continue to be a safe space for students. So my response was, you should get fired. I've screen grabbed and shared. What education system is this groomer at? I would like to call the principal and report her, because this is proof, like it's true. And then I took a look at her profile. The only thing that she had up on her profile, again, you can take a look, and I'll actually show it just in case she's changed it since then. Ugh. Okay, now I'm disappearing. Anyway, Carrie B, she her pronouns, only thing she has up is she, her, and the only thing she has in her description, like whatever, and so like instead of having nothing at all, oh, I wish you could see this. Oh, instead of having nothing at all, she has bi introvert and the pride flag. Pride being one of the 7 deadly sins, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, as well. So why are we embracing this, and why are we putting pride in conjunction with homosexuality and or that like certain communities when it's not something that should be like propped up, right? Like it's the most heinous or whatever you want to call it of the 7 deadly sins. And why is it something that's it's not even just a month, it's like an entire season now. And there's so and I'm not, and again, like I have friends that are homosexual that are great people, and it's not but they do only make up a small percentage of the population. And unfortunately, within that group, there are people that are, I believe, to be groomers and or sexual perverts that are hiding behind these groups because they like it's a place to land. And unfortunately, like some people are just like very like you have people in these groups that are very hyper tolerant, right? Like extreme leftists or liberals, like they're very tolerant of like literally everyone, right? It doesn't matter if you're a freaking criminal or not, right? And like it is what it is, but and so if she's a teacher, why does she identify as being a bisexual introvert? Like why does that matter? Why did like who cares? And like what age, children are you teaching? And what courses? Like definitely not biology, I'm hoping, you know, or anatomy or like religion and ethics, because like clearly you'd have a biased approach and I'm suspecting that you're not a religious person. And this is anyway, I'm gonna go on all these freaking tangents, but it's not even about religion, it's about believing in a creator, a divine creator, and or a creator or creators with higher levels of consciousness and more evolved than us, more advanced than we are within this flat earth plane, this simulation um, that created this, right? Because like again, this is it's perfect. And when we follow the various commandments or rules, like very simple ones, then this is where we achieve like the higher levels of consciousness and stuff like that. Where souls having a human experience. I'm already 47, 20 minutes in. Just wanted to get that out of the way. So yeah, like I've worked with Global Affairs Canada, and so like I wish that they would like be more proactive and respond to me, and or like I'm still outside of Ottawa, so like I would love it if they would get me back into meetings there. I can give them all the information. I could like share the friggin' stats and the studies, and get Canada back on track, right? Like because this is ridiculous, ridiculous. Okay, so like I mentioned, like the pineal gland, the pituitary gland, and stuff like that, and um, and how that's our way of accessing the higher levels of consciousness. I was just talking about that yesterday too, I believe. But I want to show you that even in the Bible, if you go to Bible search, am I streaming this? Oh yeah, cool. Okay, for Bible search, you can take a look at what was it friggin' going to take? Oh yeah. Okay, so I picked up the number 7 a lot. How is it that Penuel, which sounds a lot like Peniel, is mentioned 7 times in the King James version of the Bible? That was established or written in 1611. 6 plus 1 equals 7. 711. September 11th. Like there's so many different in plain sight warnings that took place regarding September 11th, and le numéro 7 en français, the number 7 in French is the number 7 in French is 7, le numéro 7. And so so September for some people is the 7th month and not the 9th month. And then you've got October, Oct, and then 8, and then November. You've got Deca, December. It's 10, not the 12th month, but anyway, it is what it is. But like, yeah, so Peniel is mentioned 7 times in the Bible. As he passed over Penuel, the sun rose upon him. Or they also like to do SON. Got Judge 88. And he went up thence to Penuel and spake to him likewise, and the men of Penuel answered him as men of Succoth had answered him. Take a look at these like different terms in like the Hebrew Bibles, in the Hebrew languages, and it's also very interesting. I will break down this tower, like the tower of the spinal cord, whatever you want to call it, to be like Jacob's ladder or whatever you want to call it. Anyway, but just more stuff on the connection of our individual souls, bodies, and our connection to the cosmos. And we have like the golden ratios within our bodies as well. It's all interesting stuff. It's in nature. It's everywhere. Okay, but I want to talk about anything else today. Let me see. Oh yes, more about corruption within our Canadian government right now. And again, I'm not untrusting of our government. I work with the government, and I had for over 20 plus years, and I know a lot of people that work in and around or are governing bodies, and they're trying to fight the good fight, you know what I mean? But they're getting blown over, you know what I mean, cast aside, and like overlooked for people that are willing to like push these like fake ass agendas. Like even with like this new variant coming out, I don't want to talk too much about this because this is the freaking stuff that gets my videos whatever impacted. But like this possible new one coming out, like if you look at the shares and the profits of like the bigger companies that are selling products, you'll notice that there's a decline, right? And so it's like they're pushing stuff, right? And that they're looking at the demographic that it worked on the last time in order to try to push this on them, because they're saying that they are more likely to be impacted by this new thing than the people that didn't take this thing that you took, right? And so anyway, and so there's a bombshell report. This is another thing that just came out regarding Justin Trudeau. High level judges, so the people that again that were deciding on things and how they happened and unfolded within Canada, high level judges have paid to meet Trudeau before their appointments. And by appointments, no, not like like I have an 11 o'clock appointment. You know what I mean? None of that. Actually, I think I have a meeting today very soon. So anyway, but before they were selected to be like in their positions, like be hired like as judges. So according to an analysis by National Post, Robert Armstrong and Michael Bork are two of the names listed as having attended numerous Liberal fundraisers in Calgary before men with those names also from Calgary were appointed to the courts in 2021. Take a look at these guys. Another man from Calgary named Kevin Feth, that's F-E-T-H, was a member of the Laurier Club, an exclusive Trudeau Liberal-run club for the Liberal Party's top donors. It cost $1,700 a year to join. A man from Calgary named Kevin Feth was appointed as a judge in 2019. Meanwhile, a woman named Janice Steele was appointed to the Superior Court of Justice of Ontario in 2020 after a woman by the name of Janice Steele, that's Janasteele, attended two Trudeau Liberal fundraisers in 2008 and 19. The first of these events was hosted by the Laurier Club. Revealed that 76% of judicial appointments who donated to a political party made donations to the Trudeau Liberals, specifically the Trudeau Liberals, calling into question the potential bias of judges. You think? And unfortunately, like even though there are like elected, like there are people all over Canada that are trying to speak out on all of this stuff, experts, lawyers, doctors, scientists, teachers, people have top secret government clearance that are analysts that have been working with the highest levels of government now for again like 20 plus years of our friggin' life, and because we're not donating to certain campaigns and parties, like we're like, again we're like it's just it blows my mind. Like firing these people. Like, do we need an election when we have an Adolf Hitler and like type, like the possible type in government? I'm not saying he is, obviously, because there's a comparison, a significant difference of like how things unfolded. But what I'm trying to say is like a lot of the things that he's done and said are precursors to what happened in Europe during key periods of time. And so like we just don't want to have the same things happen, right? So like when you start off on the same level, and you're following the same rule books, or it looks like that, then like ultimately like it's going to be the same outcomes, right? And so my people. So make sure that I get it all before I end this podcast. So I think I'm gonna leave it at that. please like, share, and subscribe because yeah, like I need people to support this channel in order to get this information out more, especially being in Canada. Like nothing I share seems to be making it viral, and so like people are recommending or suggesting that I leave Canada, and again, I don't want to. I don't want to do that. I don't want to flee my country when I have a lot of information that could possibly like assist in like future like planning operations and stuff like that. And anyway, on that note, I hope that everyone has a wonderful rest of the day.